how many more node shrinks would it take to achieve PS5 level power in a handheld? If 15 watts is the target, would we need to reach a 1 nanometer process before we see performance close to current console level rasterization? I think, first of all, the whole nanometer thing is just marketing at this point. It doesn't actually relate to the size of transistors or gates or whatever. Wow. Actually, I'm going to level with you guys. I copied and pasted this question into the spreadsheet, and I was pretty sure it said PS4 level power in a handheld at 15 watts, which I still think is pretty challenging to do, even with Steam Deck and whatnot. Oliver, what do you think about this? We were talking about years away, I think.
Many years away. Just the 1 nanometer process technologies that are coming online, or even 1.4 nanometer, we're talking about, multiple years, 3 years, 4 years, longer potentially than that. 2 nanometer technology is only coming online, I believe, next year. And we've had 3 nanometer for a while. In PC GPUs, we're still in the 4 nanometer, 5 nanometer class of technologies at the moment. So yeah, I think on any near-term time scale, you're not really going to get there. We don't know what graphics hardware will look like on 3 nanometer or 2 nanometer process technologies, but I would assume the jump would not be as profound as, say, from 12 nanometer, 8 nanometer class technologies to 5 nanometers. I would assume it would be a much smaller jump there. And the handhelds are only really around PS4 level capability at like 15 or 20 watts. It's going to take a long time, maybe a very, very long time, before in compute terms and bandwidth terms, they're anywhere near a PlayStation 5 console. That just seems so far away. But I would also say that I think with the adoption of various AI technologies over the next few years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, you could probably end up with something that comes closer to the perceptual performance level of a PlayStation 5 console without necessarily getting there in terms of every single raw metric. I think that's more plausible. And in that case, I have to throw up my hands and say, well, whatever Jensen deems, perhaps it'll come at some point, who knows? But I don't think it will happen in a raw hardware metric sense.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to need to move on to the picometer scale, since if we're talking about 1 nanometer at this point.
Yeah. The term they're using is angstroms, but yeah.
Angstroms. Okay.
Angstroms.
Yes, it's going to take a lot of node shrinks, and Oliver is quite right that it just doesn't make sense to scale in that way. There's going to be different techniques that will give you perceptually very similar results, and it's in the same way that NVIDIA's kind of going down this path now of starting to talk about performance based on software in combination with hardware as opposed to just hardware only. And there's a lot of pushback to that, but that is basically the direction of travel, I think, in terms of all levels of semiconductor relating to games, certainly. PS5 level power in a handheld at 15 watts. Well, it's requiring like 200 at the moment. So that is like over an order of magnitude more power being consumed to produce those results. And for what? You don't really need a 4K handheld at this point. Interesting nonetheless. Any thoughts, Alex?
Yeah, I just think what it's designed to do doesn't need to do that anyway. 4K is useless on a handheld, more or less. So I'm very curious, though, what the semiconductor industry does in about 10 years. Because, I just always remember, like, years back, the talk was always like new substrate, new processes to make something that is not just made of silicon. But it's kind of like fallen by the wayside. No one talks about it anymore. So I'm very curious to see what the next breakthrough actually will be, or if it's just like stagnant and we have PS5 level power and performance for a very long time, actually.
Well, the PS5 Pro itself is indicative of, if not stagnation, certainly a change in strategy as to how you're going to get improvements in visuals. I think that's definitely the case. We are looking for some kind of breakthrough in semiconductor fabrication, though, that's for sure. And it's being borne out. One thing I pointed out to the team a couple of weeks back is all of these new GPUs that are coming. a lot of them are awfully like the RTX 3090.
Yeah.
There's so many GPUs available now that are like within 10% of the 3090 plus or minus. It seems to be this sort of sweet spot that nobody can really push beyond in a cost efficient way.